Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 22nd of October, and well, we had our highs breached right there on the S&P to match the previous. We had this extreme reading here from MBI Magenta, and still well over, even in post-market 43, but it closed at 44.80 down there. You can see it, and that's bullish. It's been bullish since the turnaround move, and no surprise with that. We're seeing a little bit of softness here with the steel. Short-term buyers taking some off on that. But long-term buyers in the red DSC still moving higher. And mid-term buyers in between there, keeping everything going, shake out, making new highs relative to the previous one. So this is congruent. There's no divergence there, so nothing stopping it from continuing, except for a little bit of the fade in that short-term buyer setup. But we would expect they would try to break to a new high to see how much resistance there is, or if there's any short cover setup in that. We just haven't seen a whole lot of shorts. We're seeing more activity now, even on the NASDAQ here. You can see cyan moving above zero for the first time in quite a while since the dip. So transition a little bit there, and we'll see if that has much of an impact. Euro still not doing anything because the only place to find yield is in the U.S. with more protests building in Italy as well as other places in the EU, and growth just stymied completely with the policies. Oil still up at the premium. Interest rates continue to rise. We're getting back to that level that they were there, and this is going to have an impact on the market because it's going to draw more people out of equities into a little bit safer yield, particularly as you reach new highs, particularly if it breaks out above the high and then starts to come back below it. That will certainly exacerbate things. Bitcoin, coming off of its big run, started to present some short setups, and currently within that, still short from that setup there as it levels off down at the bottom, just below that previous high, which was that 64K, which is where we had the previous short before the big dip that took everything out and the turnaround point. So that was just mostly all those positive extremes that got filled, and we created a few in between here, a little bit more on the daily to look at. Closed out from that long trade on the MBI Opus 2T, and be interesting to see how this latest re-entry off of, we had that dip that came through there. What I always look for is when you see that white MBI cross above the red, I'm usually looking for it to continue its move above magenta and yellow, and when it rejects, pretty good idea that if you're short, you want to ease off that, because the reality is that should continue higher. And when it flipped, sure enough, that's what led to this most recent little pop that has taken place. And again, from a 5K standpoint, this is also troubling for bulls, because when you get this smaller range, volume-wise, because these are ticks, so 5,000 ticks pop, and normally we would have to scroll through and back to get to a full day, and here it fits within just the single spacing. And this has been the last several days. We've been on pretty weak volume in general. It was pretty clean though overall after yellow dots. The buy signal was valid from there, and that took us up to the highs, and then we ended up with finally a rollover breakdown with the magenta dots, and that led to a decent retrace within that setup, but then turnaround buy setup, and that pretty much was just a slow action, and it just kept progressing, and then as the day ended, it shot up. But again, those were all positive extremes marked at that 35 level, and it just broke back, filled those all in. So no shock there, and they'll be able to rebuild after the in the post market here as Asia opens and move into the European session. But as always, I will continue to update charts, and any relevant updates to dots or the strategies I will certainly get out to you. Trade well, and we will talk again later. nice Friday action.